Okay, in the, what do you call it, the off-color Christianity called Gnosticism, somebody asked me a question about the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of Philip. They sound quite a bit different from each other. You know what, I'll just get into it. My name is Dan Paulson. Let me read what the question was, and then I'll just get into the answer for him. All right, what I did is I just copied and pasted your email here into the top of my Nag Hammadi copy right here so I can get right to it. I'll delete it out of here. Thanks for offering a video on this. I really appreciate your time. You say the verses in all material from the past are mentally interactive. I know the Bible so-so, not as much as you, but I've been studying the Nag Hammadi, especially the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of Philip. They don't sound very much like each other. Thomas sounds like a weird version of the Sermon on the Mount, but Philip sounds like nothing else taught in Christianity. I had two questions. First, can you give a personal example of you mentally interacting with the material in a way that changed something about your own life? Nobody's ever asked me that before. Damn it, that's a good question. You got it. And secondly, can you talk about Philip a little bit? I think it must teach something different because the language changed so much and Jesus doesn't sound like the same person. Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about there. And all I can say is this. We'll get into it, and it almost seems to me like whoever was putting together the Gnostic material at that time were there's obviously the Christian standard material was written, and then this came about. It actually references, and it'll even make comments in here that, something is wrong about the birth of the virgin birth and things like that. So it's obviously written after the standard Matthew, Mark, and Luke, where they're talking about the virgin birth and how it happened and how they're teaching that. So this obviously came about later. But it also seems like it's the people that were taking mushrooms that wrote it. It got pretty thick. It got really strange, and it got deep, and it almost took mushrooms to figure it out. So, all right, let's take a look at a couple of things. All right, I'm going to bring up two verses. They're going to teach us the same thing. There's a lot of duplication in this material. Tons of duplication in this material. First of all, verse 35. Jesus said, "It is not possible for anyone to enter the house of a strong man and take it by force." It is not possible for anyone to enter the house of a strong man and take it by force. Now we're going to go to 98. Jesus said, "The kingdom of the Father is like a certain man who wanted to kill a powerful man. In his own house he drew his sword and stuck it into the wall in order to find out whether his hand could carry through. Then he slew the powerful man." Okay, these are ones that I have interacted with. They are crucial. First of all, we need to understand something. Jesus said that's the teacher. Jesus is the person on the path that is looking for the Christ nature. At some point, we put ourselves into the story. The kingdom of the Father is going to be analogous for inner peace, nirvana, the kingdom of heaven within, heaven, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of the Father, all of them. Canaan, the promised land. They all mean the same thing. The golden fleece, day 7. It's a pure place. You know what, though? I can identify it much better than that. If you just sit there on your own, and you can sit there and get frazzled up in your memories, or you can get outside of your memories and go, whew, what's going on? How is this happening? Why am I stuck in that? If you can understand that you can do that back and forth, and then mentally grasp the idea that I can separate from that you're consciously either experiencing the memory cyclically, or if you recognize that, you can try to stop doing that and get to that higher awareness right there. When you're with that higher awareness, you're living from your true self and not through your memories. That right there, at that location, when you're sitting there detached, that's the location. That's the true mental space. When you're sitting there at night, tossing and turning, you can't get to sleep, but that periodic voice comes in and says, "Hey, you gotta sleep. There's nothing you can do tonight. Just let it go." If you notice, when that voice is in your consciousness, you don't feel the emotions of the memories. We tend to get sucked right back into it. But if you can stay up there and go, "Oh, this is where I need to be. This is the true me. I'm allowing my conscious to experience unresolved memories. I need to resolve those memories and live from up here." That's nirvana, the kingdom of heaven within, the kingdom of God, the Holy Land, the golden fleece, child 7 days old, all of it. All of it right there. Jesus said the pure place in the mind is like a certain man who wanted to kill a powerful man. In his own house, he drew his sword and stuck it into the wall in order to find out if his hand could carry through. What is my house? My house is my mind, my life experience, my awareness. Not my interactions with other people, but my own conscious internal awareness, complete with its internal dialogue. All of that. That's my house. Where all of the thoughts happen, where the confusion happens, where when I remember certain things from the past, it makes me angry, it makes me sweat, it makes me embarrassed. It gives me a physiological reaction to have certain memories. That's my house. Then he slew the powerful man. What's the powerful man that wants to come and destroy the house? That's the experience that's going to be repeating. I'm getting triggered again. I'm getting triggered again. I'm getting triggered again. The powerful man is going to come back and destroy the house. What I must do is, at some point, if you're on this path, you recognize the patterns. You realize that it's going to happen again. It's going to trigger. Okay, here's an example. And these are going to be like so variable. This one is benign, sort of. It's for me, and it has to, I'll tell you this one. I retired 7 years ago. And I had been very active and very busy at work. It was a lot of outdoor work in the, out in the wilderness doing electronic work in remote locations. But there was a lot of physical nature involved, of that involved with it. So it wasn't a desk job. It was out there being active and staying fit. And I used to go climbing. I mean, not rock climbing and, scaling, things like that, but climbing like Mount Rainier and things like that, where you could rope together. You're not reliant. If you fall, you're sliding on snow and there's protection. There's easy routes and things like that. So it was kind of low-level stuff. But I was certainly fit. Rode my bike all the time, mountain bike, road bike. When I retired, I got more fit than ever before. For a short period of time, I just focused on it. Suddenly I had time. I did that for a while, but as I've been a lifetime involved in my studies, I began to get more and more wrapped up into making the channel, making the videos, researching. If you look at the early stuff, you'll see I didn't have a very good handle on this. I got really wrapped up into this, so much so that I dropped everything else in life. I just quit and I was focused on this. Study, study, study. I quit going outdoors. I quit exercising. I would take my dog out. It got my brain really racked. At some point in time, it was like, oh my God, I've got to settle down. I would drink some wine at night, red wine, a glass of Merlot, and guess what? I don't even care. I can sit and watch, old sitcoms or something with no storyline that's not going to be, leave you all in anguish or things like that, watching news and all that. And I would just, in no time at all, I'm drinking a bottle of wine every night. And I just gradually, without paying attention to it, transitioned from working, physically fit, exercising, studying, becoming sedentary, gradually losing muscle mass but gaining stomach mass, which causes other things. The alcohol has calories, and then it gives you the munchies. So then later on, you're not only eating munchies, but you're eating, bad stuff. It's like, it's a compounding sort of a thing. And at some point, I'm 67 going, okay, this is not good for me. I am habitually drinking a bottle of wine every night. And mentally, I'm telling myself as I get up in the morning, that's it. I don't have a hangover. I drink a bottle of wine over, like a 3 or 4 hour period. So it's really not, and I'm not going off and doing anything. I'm at home. You look at it and go, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that really, except for it's just going to cause long-term health problems. It's like I'm not doing the right thing. I'm getting more sedentary. I am putting on more pounds. At some point, I need to quit living this lifestyle and get back to something that's a better balance of activity and study. And I decide that's what I'm going to do. I'm done. I got to quit. And that night, about 5 o'clock or so, you're like, God, the store is 2 minutes away. I'm just going to go grab a bottle of wine for tonight. And you do. And the next day, you wake up and go, I gave in. Okay, tonight I'm going to start. That night, about 5 o'clock, you're like, the store's only about 2 minutes away. I'm going to go grab a bottle of wine. And this goes on. What is this? My house is now being ruined by the strong man that is coming, and I know the strong man is coming. What am I doing? I'm allowing the strong man to come and destroy my house, metaphorically in the story. The house is my experience, and there's something happening that I'm not in control of that's destroying my house. It's a repetitive thing. However, I should be in control of it. The strong man looks at that and goes, oh, you know what? I'm making the same mistake every day. I'm giving in at the same point in time. I'm convinced I don't want to do it. I am absolutely convinced. But then later on, I give in. Why? Why am I going back and forth between these two things? What I need to do is interrupt that cycle. I need to practice putting the sword in the wall. What I have to do is realize that's happening and create an alternative. 5 o'clock comes around. That's when I decide I want to go get the wine. Why don't you jump on the bike? I've got a garage outside with this little rope overhead with a pulley and some dumbbells and things like that. I can go out there and put some weights on, work out for 20, 30 minutes or something like that. There's things that I could do. And, late at night, I don't want to go off and go on a big workout or big exercise. You kind of shut down for bed. But during that period of time, that's what I did instead. It's like I'm going to interrupt that 5 o'clock point in time with a different habit. What I'm doing is practicing. Then when the strong man comes, 5 o'clock comes, yeah, you know what? I'm going to jump on the bike. I'm going to go out and hit the, little trail up here or something like that. You look for different alternatives. So I'm interacting with the material psychologically to change my life at that point in time by recognizing that I am the person in the story that wants to grow. The strong man is coming and destroying my house, which means I'm giving into my habits again and again. Now, that's just one example. The example that it's always going to be personal. You're going to have to look at your own life. I've had many things happen in the past that are not this example, but they had to do with a knockdown drag out with somebody screaming and yelling that we got the same issue that we're exploding over again and again. It always comes up and it's always the same damn thing. At some point you should go, you know what? That's a pattern. That's an energy driven pattern. Right there. It continually happens. What is it? This is our house, and the strong man comes and destroys it again and again, and we're not paying attention to it, and we're not preparing. We're not, the two of us should sit down. This is difficult. You have to be with the right person, and when it's not all keyed, and talk about, you know what? I recognize something I'm doing. I would like to interrupt that if you would like to help. That we're both doing this. This is where it gets tricky because the other person, if they're not ready to grow, they're going to look at you and go, this is your damn fault. Don't tell me I'm a part of this. You keep doing this, and they're going to feel that way. So you have to be ready to just take it upon yourself and say, even though we're co-triggering, this person is not ready to hear that. If I want to make any progress, I better drop the ego and say, I got a problem. Please help me understand this, that when this happens again and it starts to come up, that we recognize, we're amping up here. We didn't blow up yet, but we're getting close. We know it's going to happen. The strong man is coming. Right here, right now, we interrupt the damn thing. We have something else in place. We stop and go, we're triggering again. We're heading down that path. Stop and go separate directions. Do something different at that time until you begin to recognize you're habitually, routinely unaware of it. Not paying attention, not watching yourself, just living through the routines of past unresolved experiences. And those unresolved things are the strong man that's going to come and wreck your house. And you making preparation is recognizing it, knowing it, setting up alternatives, working out something different, whether it's personal, I got to do something different, I got to break this habit, or whether it's with somebody else. Ooh, now it's getting tricky. You and I are having a problem here. Since we're together and we can't escape, we're going to have to do something about this problem, or that problem is always going to be here between us. So that's how it becomes mentally interactive. These are really psychological steps that sound like, whoa, that's a floaty, flowery, what the hell's going on there? Yeah, it's just about you. It is. Okay, so that's the example of how I have interacted with the material. I've done all of those things. I've had to talk to my spouse and say, this is something that we're exploding over, and it's violent. And have her look at me and say, yeah, when are you going to stop acting the way you do? And me, I remember at times, we'd have a blow up and a couple of days go by and you'd be like, you know what? I got to talk. There's something that's really bothering me. I've been processing it. I've been thinking about it. I'm trying to resolve my own issues. And I talk to her and think, I got to talk this out. I tell her, sweetheart, can we talk this out? And she angrily tells me, I can't remember. It's been a long time since this has happened. There's a point in time where I'm healing and I'm real. And then, of course, when that happened, I would think, God, here I'm bearing my soul to you, and you're just shutting me down, telling me it's my fault. Why do you keep acting that way? Here I am trying to say, look, I know I got a problem. I want to resolve this stuff, and you're just dogging me. It doesn't feel good. Okay, so what I had to understand was I hurt her feelings 3 or 4 days ago, and she's still wondering why I hurt her feelings. Meanwhile, I'm working through my stuff mentally, and I've never given her that opportunity. So she's still mad, ready where I was 4 days ago. I got to understand and get out of my own freaking ego and say, boy, I got to float with this. I got to grow. I got to be the one that makes the changes. And however that works, okay, and if that doesn't work, boy, I've moved on in relationships. I am not my life was not a linear progression. It was steps, getting someplace and going, this isn't working. I got to drop it all and go completely start a new life somewhere else. My life has been that way. All right, after talking through all that, let's take a look at this again then. Jesus said, the kingdom of the Father is like a certain man who wanted to kill a powerful man. In his own house, he drew his sword and stuck it into the wall in order to find out whether his hand could carry through. Then he slew the powerful man. Let's rephrase that. The seeker, the strong man, the person turning inward says, the peace inside of me is going to be a requirement of wanting to kill there's somebody that wants to kill me. Within my own mind, I'm going to draw my sword. What I'm going to do is, what is a sword? A sword is knowledge. It's information. It is understanding. It is comprehension. In order to defeat a mental process, you cannot go after it with weapons. You have to go after it with a mental process. Okay, so if you're drawing a sword, that's a mental process right there. And sticking it into the wall, that's a mental process. What are we doing? We're understanding what the hell we're doing. Something happened to me long ago, and I'm pissed about it, and I hate this person, and from that, this is triggering, and I'm still causing, that's still happening today, and I got a problem. And this person I'm with, they are a co-part of this right now, but they're not ready to change. I need to just knock it off, and in my own mind, practice. I understand that something is coming up, and when it comes up, I slew the powerful man. I did not let it win. I did not let that habit take over again. I had an alternative in place. All right, what was the first one? 35. Jesus said, it is not possible for anyone to enter the house of a strong man and take it by force. So before it even goes bad, this is telling us if you got your shit together, it's not possible to be led astray. Do not be concerned from morning until evening and from evening until morning about what you wear. What do we know about garments? They are spiritual garments. This means be in the now. Don't be concerned from morning till evening, all day long, back and forth about the things that are in our mind, our memories. We've got to let that go. That's how we work with these. If you think about what they're doing, don't think all day long about what you will wear. What is that? Don't live through your memories and existential suffering of what is not resolved or what is not yet here. Living from the higher awareness, living in the now, really, what does that mean? It's like, wow, that's a weird thing. The better way to put it is to live from the higher awareness, understanding that I can live through my memories, and when they're drawn up and I'm feeling them emotionally, that's exactly what's happening. I'm living through that memory. If I step outside of that, I realize I'm not that memory. That's a freaking memory. From here is where I want to live from. I hope that helps with as far as how to interact with the material. It really is psychological stuff. Who gets the land back? Or when do the children give their land back? When they can strip themselves naked and put stand on their clothes. What is that? Naked is you're uncovered psychologically. You've got no shame, no pain, nothing to hide. People can know anything about you, and you're like, yeah, I don't care. It doesn't matter anymore. When you have that kind of freedom, nothing bothers you. It just doesn't bother you anymore, if you can get there. So being naked is that right there. Adam and Eve were naked, unashamed in the Garden of Eden. After first sin, they got covered. What happens after the flood? Noah is naked, drunk, feeling buzzed off of his new life experience after the healing process happened of resolving things, the flood itself, naked. They don't continue utilizing that motif. It's not a heavy motif. You don't want to be teaching Christian people that the best thing to do to get close to God is to be naked. They'd be running around naked. So what you do instead is change it to sackcloth and linen robes or something like that. What are you covered in? Something dirty and dingy or something pure and white? So that becomes something later. But you will see it appear here and there. Whenever naked appears in the teaching, it means spiritual. It is analogous. It never means your clothes, your garments, your robes, your cloak, nothing like that. It always means your pain, your shame, your anger, your hurt. Where am I going with this? Okay, let me go to the Gospel of Philip and show how it's still teaching the same thing, but it's really thick. It's a weird thing. Yeah. What I'm going to do is pick out some, let's just go cross cultures and pick out some comparative things here. This is the Tao Te Ching. I've talked about this before. It's a very small book teaching from Taoism. It's the core teaching of Taoism. From all Taoism emerges from here. This is from the Stephen Mitchell translation. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. Okay, this means it's a mental process, and here's why. The Tao, the pathway, talking about it. Talking about this pathway is not the eternal pathway. Talking about it. You must take it. It's a personal inner path. The Tao that is taken mentally is the eternal Tao. So, figure it out. It's mentally interactive. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. We come from a void. The unnameable is the eternally real. What I want to do is call your attention to this next line. Actually, a couple of them. Naming is the origin of all particular things. This is a story about me. The guru is giving me cryptic verses after I asked him, what is my life about? And this one right here is telling me naming is the origin of all particular things in my life, in my overall experience. As soon as I judged it, I named it. As soon as I have a memory of it with a perceived emotion attached to it, that's naming it. It is now created as a part of my life experience. It has been originated within me. Naming is the origin of all particular things in my life. This is about me. They don't tell you that. You have to know it. The Gia Fu Feng translation says the named is the mother of 10,000 things. So there's a pile of stuff there. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. These are mental experiences. In fact, it's literally the bundle of memories that we really end up living through when we're not aware. That's exactly what that is. We start off living life from an empty void and become a bundle of our memories. All right, free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. We're still talking about the same things here. What have you named? Free from hanging on to what you've named, you realize the mystery of life. Caught in hanging on to what you have named in life, you see only their manifestations. So I'm going to take this one right here. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. I'm going to move over to the Gospel of Philip here. Names given to the worldly are very deceptive, for they divert our thoughts from what is correct to what is incorrect. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. Names given to the worldly are very deceptive. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. They divert our thoughts from what is correct to what is incorrect. We're seeing the manifestations of derogatory things. Names given to the world are very deceptive. What's the world? Names given to the worldly, those are the things I've named. It's the same thing. Do you see that? You have to process it mentally. All right, let's stick with the Gospel of Philip. I'm going to go do some unusual things here, actually. I don't want to go through and just start reading through all of it. I'm going to hit some high points down here, some things that should become recognizable motifs. Then he came in first in order to take it, since it had been given as a pledge. It fell into the hands of robbers and was taken captive, but he saved it. He redeemed the good people in the world as well as the evil. This really is the start of a monomyth. The hands of the robbers and taken captive was your early self. This is your unaware self. This is going to become the bundle of memories that are unresolved, that are coming through the strong man that comes to take your house. Those are going to be the same thing as the robbers. And they're going to take captive. They're going to wreck your house. But he saved it. He redeemed the good people in the world as well as the evil. We're going to be resolved. These are all internal, though. What is inside of us? This isn't the people in the physical world. It's the people in your mental world. Who are all of you? Who are all of me? How many memories do we have? When we act out and go, I don't know why I did that. Who is that? Who is that? That's the robber taking us captive. The evil man who came and destroyed our house. Okay, when I get down here to chapter 7, and you know what, this was not made into verses. What I did is I went ahead and replicated what I believe it should be right here. And what I'm going to say right here is I see something right off the bat and I recognize it in other material. I'm looking for a 7-3 combination. This is going to sound weird if you're not with me, but this is going to identify this as Abrahamic material that's at a deeper layer of comprehension than we know. Okay, if you look at this, you're going to see that at once it's in common with people who write the New Testament, with people who write the Old Testament, with people who write the Babylonian creation myth, the Enuma Elish. As I read through here, there's something that I've learned to recognize, and that is repeating names. In verse 7, I'm looking for something that appears 3 times. And at a glance, as I read through here, I see something I know that gets my attention. I'm very specifically looking for things in here that other people are not aware of. If I go look for names, what I see is that within verse 7 here, names is repeated 3 times. This is an acknowledgement to a 7-3 grid that starts off in Genesis in the very beginning when God finished on the 7th day. So God rested on the 7th day because God saw that everything was good on the 7th day. When 7 is repeated 3 times and Adam and Eve are naked and unashamed in the Garden of Eden before first sin at that same time. That 7-3 is going to be a repeating motif and a pure state. Let's go take a look at where else I see that show up. All right, read the Gospel of Thomas, and what do you see? Jesus said, "Blessed is the lion which consumes man when consumed by man, and cursed is the man whom the lion consumes, and the lion becomes man." Do you see lion is repeated 3 times right there? Lion. Lion, in fact, it's the only place in the entire Gospel of Thomas. All right, so we've got our 7-3 right there. If we shift over to the book of Jonah, Jonah and the whale, you know that story? That's almost the same story as Jesus in the tomb. We get down here to verse 7, and he said, "Everyone to his fellow, come let us lots, that we may know, for those who cause this evil is upon us." So they cast lots, and the lot fell upon Jonah. Lot. And Lot is only said 3 times here in verse 7 in Jonah as well. So we continually get these 3-7 acknowledgments. And when I see them in Gnostic material as well as the King James Version material, I realize there is somebody common in the background that knows information that we are not privy to. All right, let's go back to the Gospel of Philip and just talk about some more common things then. With respect to the 7-3, all that kind of stuff, those are just things that I look at that tell me something different, that tell me they are sourced somehow from a school of knowledge that is an esoteric school, that is not the layer that we typically access. It's a deeper layer. However, it is accessible through pattern recognition and comprehension. Okay, so he came in first to take it, took it captive. That's the spot we read earlier where the mind has now been taken over by the evil, the robbers, the experiences, but he saved it. He redeemed the good people with the world as well as the evil. Then look what happens next. Light and darkness, life and death, right and left are brothers of one another. They are inseparable. Because of this, neither are the good, nor the evil, evil, nor is this life, nor death, death. What I want to do is jump over to the Tao Te Ching again real quick. These are the kind of things that I think are important to show not necessarily the commonality within material itself, but across cultures. All right, so what happens if we get into the Tao? We finish page 1, darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. Yeah, well, that's from the very first. That's how we came about. Now what happens if we move right into this? When people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. Being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. before and after follow one another. Okay, so what this teaching is doing right here is letting us know that when we start off in light, we have not judged good, bad, anything like that. We don't have those judgments. The more of those judgments we make, the more we exist in conflict with ourselves. That is, before ugly and beautiful were the same thing. Now that's beautiful, that's ugly. This is, whatever. As we're making those judgments, we become divided. We become divided. So that teaches us in the Tao. If we go right back to the Gospel of Philip, light and darkness, life and death, right and left are brothers of one another. They are inseparable. So you see it's moving on sequentially, the same thing. There's a division. We become divisions of deciding of whether something is good or bad or evil or life and death and all that kind of stuff. We're the ones that make the decision. Okay, now right here, I'm not exactly aligning the Gospel of Philip with the Gospel of Thomas, but more showing that there are sequential things in here that are easier to see. I know different material from different places, and in this case, the Tao, which is Chinese, it is teaching the same thing, and you can see that it's in a sequence. It starts out, it's a mental process, it's a void. We're a product of our thinking. This bundle of thinking becomes us. We have repeated cycles of whatever you're hanging on to is going to continue to cycle around until you let go of that. You're going to become products of all those things. And the teaching sequence is that way. It doesn't tell you how to heal yourself and then how you became a product of hurt to begin with. It tells you how you became hurt and then how you heal. So the sequences in this material is always going to be the same. You start out pure. Corruption happens. We become products of this bundle of memories. And a division happens as we begin to judge things. That's why the division happens, and we become products of that thinking. All right, let's just spend a little bit more time with the Gospel of Philip, and I'll try to wrap this up. It gets super deep, I know, and you have to have an interest in it and give it time and everything else. It takes quite a bit of time. I didn't understand this until I had the full time to apply to it. Okay, so we've gone through this right here. Names of the world are very deceptive. They divert our thoughts from, we went through all of that. The names, 7.3, it's all there. I'm just going to go down to some places that I've highlighted. No one will hide a large, valuable object in something large, but many a time one has tossed countless thousands into a thing worth a penny. Compare the soul. It is a precious thing, and it came to be in a contemptible body. All right, let's work to understand this. We are in this. We need to become that. No one will put a large object in something large. We are the something that is large, the large, valuable object, which would be what? Purity. No one will hide purity inside of ourselves. But many a time one has tossed countless thousands into a living thing worth a penny. And I think the way this is worded means that the things that you throw in are worth a penny into that something large. So we got a lot of trash inside of the body, inside of the mind. We've tossed countless things. These are memories. Compare the soul. It is a precious thing, and it came to be in a contemptible body. Okay, the soul, we have to understand that's the bundle of memories. It's our awareness. It's what we live through. It's not something that's disembodied. We have to interact with it. Soul, spirit, same thing. We have to become poor in spirit, poor in soul. How do we do that? The only way we can do that is to call the soul or the spirit the bundle of memories, and we resolve them. It's a precious thing, and it came to be in a contemptible body. Our life experience judges our life experiences. I like that. I don't like that. I hate that. That's shameful. All of that is what creates us. Some are afraid lest they rise naked. Because of this, they wish to rise in the flesh, and they do not know that it is those who wear the flesh who are naked. Okay, these are weird things, and you have to understand that they're not physical. Naked means spiritually uncovered, unashamed, pure. Some are afraid lest they rise. They don't want to rise up naked, physically naked. Because of this, they wish to rise in the flesh. Rising in the flesh means what? You're not rising in purity. You're rising in flesh. You're rising in judgment. They wish to rise in judgment. Shut down. You don't see the purity. And they do not know that it is those who wear the flesh who are naked. So I would think that some are afraid lest they rise naked means people are ashamed and they will not admit what they have. They're not going to tell you, yeah, I'm hiding that deep. They don't hide it. It acts out. But they're not going to let it out. Well, I can't quite unwrap that. Naked, however, here, these are the things you have to work out in your head and go, how does this mean something to me mentally? How do I interact with this? Okay, let's move on to something else. An ass which turns a millstone did 100 miles walking. When it was loosed, it found that it was still at the same place. There are men who make many journeys but make no progress toward any destination. When evening came upon them, they saw neither city nor village, neither human artifact nor natural phenomena, power nor angel. In vain have the wretches labored. They got nowhere. An ass which turns a millstone, what do we have? An ass which turns a millstone did 100 miles walking. When it was loosed, it found that it was at the same place. So you're the ass turning a millstone. You live through life cyclically, over and over again. When you finally get free of it, you find out you haven't gone anywhere. There's men who make many journeys. We live our lives constantly doing things, but we don't get anywhere. It's the same thing over and over again. We don't find purity. When evening came upon them, the evening of our life, as we get old and it comes upon us, we see no city, no village, no place to be, neither human artifact nor natural phenomena, power nor angel. In vain have the wretches labored. They've lived their lives. Yeah, it's a spiritual teaching. It's a cyclical pain. You don't get anywhere going around in circles. When Eve was still with Adam, death did not exist. When she was separated from him, death came into being. If he enters again and attains his former self, death will be no more. These have to make sense. They're all analogs. When Eve was with Adam, when the inner self, when the subconscious was pure and with the subconscious, this is before we've judged. Each of us is Adam and Eve. The conscious is Adam, Eve is the inner self. When Eve was still with Adam, when we were still internally connected, before first sin, death did not exist. Yeah, we weren't sent off. Death, spiritual death. That means we're going to be living from our higher awareness. Everything is fine. But when she separated from him, death came into being. Okay, that's when sin happened. That's the inner self separating from the consciousness. Death came into being. We are now no longer happy all the time. Now we have things to hide. We have shame. We have things like that. We're beginning to live from the physical world, so that is death. Death means living from the physical experience, not from the higher detached awareness. If he enters again and attains his former self, death will be no more. There you go. We want to go in and attain our former self. We want to find inner purity. And then what? Spiritual life. A bridal chamber is not for the animals, nor is it for the slaves, nor for defiled women. It is for free men and virgins. Those are us. What's a bridal chamber? What's the men? What's the virgin? That's the conscious and the inner self all the time. This is a mental hierarchy. Where do the conscious and the subconscious reside? In the mind. The bridal chamber. The bridal chamber is your mind. It's your mental experience. Sit and think in your mind. Bring up memories. That's your conscious and your subconscious having a discussion in the bridal chamber. That's the man and the woman inside. It is for free men and virgins. Virgins what? I have not first sin. I'm not carrying things. I'm pure. Free men. I am not connected. I'm not holding on to things. The bridal chamber is not for animals, nor is it for slaves, nor for defiled women. Defiled women means our hurt self. Sit there quiet someplace and think. Does anything ever come to your mind that makes you go, God, I wish this wasn't there? That's a defiled woman right there. It's an analogous term, which means you got an issue. That's not a virgin. Make it mentally interactive and know that they're using what they can in their culture to obscure the teaching. If the woman had not separated from the man, she should not die with the man. Okay, if the subconscious had not been separated from the conscious, she would not die with the man. We completely fall apart now that that's happened. But it's not as if the woman made the choice. The man did. That's a conscious decision. His separation became the beginning of death. So that's us. That's the beginning of death, spiritual death. Because of this, Christ came to repair the separation, which was from the beginning, and again unite the two. See, this is about going back and healing the self and reuniting the self with self, and give life to those who died as a result of the separation and unite them. Yeah, we want an internal marriage. We want to reunite, but that's a healing process. But the woman is united to her husband in the bridal chamber. Indeed, those who have united in the bridal chamber will no longer be separated. Thus, Eve separated from Adam because it was not in the bridal chamber that she united with him. That you went off and had life experience. And, Eve doesn't take off on her own and do things. That's the conscious at all times going off and having life experiences, deciding the quality of that, and then becoming a memory, and that is becoming Eve. That is the start of Cain and Abel, the divided self. I don't know if I have any more highlighted here. What I wanted to emphasize, though, is that it is the same teaching, but using very different language, so it has a different impact. And all of it does. It has a different impact. If Buddha teaches the same thing in the Dhammapada that Jesus teaches in the Sermon on the Mount, that Lao Tzu teaches in the Tao Te Ching, all three of those sound different, but they're all the exact same teaching held in different analogous verbiage. That's what's so tricky about it. That's why people think this is different than yours. They can't get past the analogs. Well, I named something. Oh, I don't. I judged something. Same thing right there. It's a mental process. I have a memory now. And because of that memory, the memory is going to continue to live in that manner. The judgment with which I judge others will be judged likewise unto me. That's karma. So despite the fact that the verbiage gets thick and it wanders all over the place, if you can unwrap it, you realize there's a layer of something there that is one common human. How many times can you teach the most obscure way of how you came about and how to turn inward and heal in verbiage that if you don't follow the verbiage, if you don't understand it, if you don't learn how to interact with it and heal with it, the verbiage itself is packaged in such a manner to influence the average human brain and its psychology, the psychology of the brain. And what is what is life's biggest fear? We fear death, and we move towards life. Fear and joy drives humans at the most basic core. And existential fear of death drives a belief system that says, I will never die. I don't have to face that now. It is a psychological panacea that I think eventually works against civilization, despite the fact that people like it makes me feel better, it's a good thing, but at some point you look at the general overall impact and go, it denies evolution, it denies overpopulation, it denies a togetherness, it maintains a tribal nature, us against them. At the end of the day, it's like, all that stuff is fine until the world gets so full that something has to give and people are not ready to get along, and there's a massive amount of them that don't even understand that evolution is what's happening and that nobody's going to come here and save us. At any rate, okay, well, I'm getting off subject there. It is, I apologize for that. I go off on my tangents. The material, though, there's nothing uncommon about it other than the way that it's packaged. It's like you're taking one box that has, there's one gift. Everybody has the same gift in the same box, but everyone has it wrapped completely differently. And people are just looking at the wrapping paper going, mine's a lot different than yours. Mine's even shaped different than yours. Mine's got red, green, and blue. Mine's earth tones. Mine's whatever. All of those there. But if you could open them up, you'd find it's the same thing. It's the human life path, healing, and how we operate within this cosmos as energy beings being affected by the energy in the cosmos around us that we emerge from and we return to. as taught by the material. Anyway, okay, I hope that answers the question without going too far over the top. Yeah, there is a lot to it. The comprehension is such a mental thing. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. I'm telling the Tao. That means you can't sit. I'm doing the right thing. It's not the eternal thing. The Tao that can be told is the right Tao. It's just not the eternal Tao. It's not eternal until you make it your own. That's what you have to do with this material. You got to sit and look through that stuff and read it and go, God, that's weird. How do I live in that? Until you figure it out for yourself. Then it becomes experiential. Everything I'm doing right now is academic. It's not the true Tao. The true Tao only happens in your own mind. All right. Hope that helps. Questions, comments? I'd love to hear it. See you in the next video.